a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist who's been practicing hypnotherapy since the 1980s. He's the author of 25 books, including The Holistic Millionaire, and has created over 9,000 hypnosis audio recordings and 22 different online certification programs, which are sold in over 140 countries. He's been featured on Bravo's Millionaire Matchmaker and Below Deck, and he's been interviewed on CNN, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Steve has studied psychology at Harvard, and he holds numerous degrees, including a bachelor's in psychology from the University of Florida, a master's in education from Armstrong Atlantic State University, and a doctorate in education from Georgia Southern University. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Hey, good, Harry. How are you?
Fantastic, man. I am so pumped to have you on the show tonight. Apologize for running a little bit over, but like I say, it's my show, so we do the
best. We got caught up talking about orgasms.
I heard. I was thinking like something like H2O, like you got two H's, Harry and Heather, then the O is the orgasm, H2O, maybe a new show.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, well, whenever we have a first-time guest on the show, there's a series of questions that I ask, and I'm going to actually turn you over to the capable abilities and talents of Heather Vale Goss, the unwrapper. But what I want to start off with is a few questions here. Question number one, just to kind of warm you up, Steve, who or what inspires you?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. Currently, I'm inspired by anybody just going for it. Anyone just, saying the heck with the odds, I'm just going to go for it and live my dreams. So that could be from just someone I see, out when I'm out and about to, famous people. Inspirations from the past really fall into the same category also, just people who have, come from nothing, like Abraham Lincoln, for example, a guy who came out of nowhere and led the entire country. So those are the people who really get me going.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great thing. And I hear what you're saying. When you see somebody that's out there and really just going for it, no matter what it is, putting everything they have into something, the passion that they have, whether it's physical or anything else, it's exhilarating and it's also inspiring, to yourself. So that's great. Okay, the next one is, and I think I probably know the answer to this one, but what's your passion, Steve?
Well, you probably do know this. My passion is helping people, just helping them live their best lives. So helping them tune into that gift that they have inside themselves that they've pushed it down and they're not really living their greatest life, and just to help them reach inside and pull that out and share it with the world. And when that happens, we all win.
That's absolutely true. And if everybody would simply just do the best they possibly could every single day, what changes would be, made in the world out there. Now, I'm going to just kind of digress for a minute, though. 9,000 products, 9,000 audio recordings?
9,000 hypnosis recordings. Yes, I have the unofficial world record for the most self-help recordings produced by one person. So that's absolutely a correct number.
Wow. I mean, when do you sleep then? Do you sleep?
I just go into hypnosis every now and then I come back out and make some more recordings. The majority of those were done in a 2-year period. Since then, nowadays I only do maybe one program every other week. So I've slowed down a little bit.
In your old age?
Yeah. Now that I'm middle-aged and I'm reaching for a cane, I slowed down one every 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, that's why, we're talking about orgasms in 5 minutes. I'm not sure it would take that long. But anyway, okay.
But 5 minutes or less. It was 5 minutes or less.
Well, that's true. It's 5 minutes or less.
Goodness, that sounds like an advertisement.
Yeah, really.
Like for some product, I don't know what.
The last question I got for you, we always have a theme of the month. And the theme for this month for us is the word harvest. And so how does that word show up for you, Steve, in your life, the word harvest?
Well, that's interesting. For me, I think it shows up in harvesting the rewards for what I've done. We talked about those 9,000 recordings, which I did them in a 2-year period, and that was about 5 years ago that I completed that. And now I'm able to harvest the fruits of that. And I'm always talking to people about that concept, so it's very poignant that you brought it up. The idea that, you you can work really hard for a while and then reap the rewards for the rest of your life, especially with internet, internet marketing. That's why I wrote a book about that, how you can just work really hard, create digital products, and then sell them forever. So that's how that shows up for me in my life.
Yeah, and it's great. And I know we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about your new book, The Holistic Millionaire. And I decided something, Heather. I've made a command decision. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
Sure.
We're actually going to skip the middle thing. We're just going to go right through, and we won't take our next break until the 45-minute mark. So I want to give you plenty of time to really, dig in and talk with Steve and share as much as we can of time with Steve with the audience. So I'm actually going to turn it over to you, Heather, and we won't have a break now for about 18 minutes.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Seatbelt. I'm seatbelted in.
That might be a record for us. Talking, no, not even close.
Well, just think, in less than 5 minutes, you could have 3 orgasms in that time. Just go ahead.
Yeah. If this wasn't on video as a Google Hangout at the same time, I might actually, yeah. So, anyway.
You kids.
All right, Steve, you mentioned that your passion is helping people.
Right.
So let's dial that back a few years. Tell us, when did that first start where you discovered that that was your passion and you wanted to fulfill it?
Well, it started for me in high school when I was in Riverside Military Academy. My parents sent me there. A lot of people get threatened to be sent to military school or boarding school, but I actually got sent there. And I got a book on hypnosis by a guy named Leslie Lecron. And he's no longer with us, but he was a PhD psychologist. And I started reading it, and I started hypnotizing my roommates. And I eventually realized I could use my powers for good. Smart kids came to me wanting to study more efficiently. The athletes wanted to kind of get more bang for their buck for exercise, make it go further so they could, run further and so forth. And it was at that point when I was a teenage kid in about 10th grade in high school that I realized that I had a passion to help people with that. So all these years later, it's the same thing, except the smart kids are NASA and the athletes are the Dodgers.
That's funny when you say that you realized you could use your powers for good. It sounds like you're a superhero.
Yes, well, you could go either way with powers like that with hypnosis. You could go to the dark side, as it were, and start looking for ways to take advantage of people, or you can empower people. So, I wouldn't say I'm a superhero, but I definitely have stuck to the bright side of that, and I encourage people to do the same also, and just really tap into that good part of themselves and make that as big as they possibly can.
That's interesting. When I think of hypnotherapy, I think that the person being hypnotized needs to be a willing participant. But, is it possible to hypnotize people without them being aware or without their permission?
It is. We have a program for that, actually. It's called covert hypnosis, is the type of hypnosis you're talking about. Rather than and again, that can be used for bad also, but rather than using it for that, here's the way I look at it. If you are in an interview situation, for example, not like this, but a job interview, where you're attempting to convince the person potentially hiring you that you're the best fit for the job. The understanding is that you've got the qualifications, you are a good person, you're just trying to help them see that. So there are techniques you can use to help them see that. So it's not really manipulation, it's really just kind of furthering things along the way that they should go based on your best intentions.
Okay, so if I'm having a conversation with you and I want to convince you that I'm a really cool chick,
I'm already convinced. You just have to say your name, and I'll oh yeah. Well, if you want to do that.
Oh, brother, really? That's where we're going with that one?
She gave me a $5 bill before the show, Harry. I'm sorry, I have to say that. Yeah.
All right, I got it.
Yeah. So anyway, but you could.
So seriously, so what is one of those techniques? If I want to influence, it could be a job interview, like you said, or it could be going on a date. You want to make a good impression. It could be just, some people are shy, like me. Hello. You go into like a public networking situation, it can be really stressful. So, like, in what ways can we influence people to have a favorable opinion of it?
Well, there's a great technique called anchoring, and there are a number of ways that you can use anchoring, but the best way to influence someone else to have a favorable opinion of you when you're using anchoring is to realize that there's your solar plexus, which is the center of your chest. The area around that, about a 1 foot radius around that, is kind of a magical area. It encompasses your neck and right around your belly button. Also, anytime you're touching that area, you are referencing yourself. And anytime you use a word and touch that area, you are programming someone to feel that you have the attribute of the word that you're using. So, for example, if I say a sentence, I say, I like working with Harry because he's very motivated, and that makes me feel good. If I say that sentence about Harry, but I'm touching that area on myself while I'm saying the word motivated, it's going to anchor someone else to believe that I have the attribute of motivation. So that can be very helpful in a job interview.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Using Harry again. Oh, man.
Used and abused tonight. Yep.
Used and abused. Wow.
Yeah, and you got to be careful if you're touching that area. If it's in a networking situation, that's not the time for the orgasm. Wait till you're alone. Gotta make a disclaimer there.
Well, here's the great thing about that area. For a guy, that's where your tie is. You can adjust it. For a woman, that's where your necklace is. So you can find lots of excuses. Yes, but you can find other, publicly acceptable reasons to touch that area.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about The Holistic Millionaire, your latest book. Who is that written for?
That's written for anyone who believes in themselves and has something to share with the world. And, people who want to get online and start producing products and selling them and helping their own bank account while helping thousands of other people.
Okay, so what about the people who know that deep down they're creative, but they don't know how to share it with the world? They don't yet even believe in themselves. They have some stumbling blocks to feel that they're actually worth sharing with the world.
First chapter is all about confidence. I jump right in with confidence because after having worked with clients for this many years, close to 30 years, I'm well aware that people have that as the first major hurdle.
Yeah, or either that or go to SteveGJones.com and you're going to find all kinds of products and things that you can purchase to help
9,000 audios.
That's right.
Well,
you can even get,
absolutely true.
Yeah, you can even get a free copy of the book there. Don't even have to buy it.
You can get a free copy, and it's a great book. I have to tell you. I mean, I downloaded and read through it and whatnot, and you really have a lot of meat in there. That's what I really liked about the book, Steve, is that it wasn't just, a lot of times these things can be, especially people put out for free, they put a lot of fluff in it, and there's no substance to it. But there's really a lot of substance in this book. And, like you said, you start off with confidence, but then you really go more in depth into what people can really do.
Thanks for pointing that out, Harry. I spent actually 2 years writing this. It was based on a seminar that I prepared that I did a couple of years ago, and then I took my notes, and over the course of 2 years, I refined them, finally got it into a form that I was happy with, which was the book. So I'm glad that shows. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a really good read. And I want to jump in here real quick, too. We talked about hypnosis and everything, and I heard you guys, you're mentioning about, the dark side or the light side of it and all that. But isn't hypnosis used, almost all the time in marketing? Isn't there somebody by the name of Joe Vitale that even wrote a thing about hypnotic writing?
Yes, Joe's a good...
marketing.
Joe's a good friend of mine. We were hanging out in New York a couple weeks ago, actually. And I've known him for a couple years, and last time we got together was a couple weeks ago. And yeah, he's all about hypnotic marketing, and we've created products together on that also. And it's very helpful in that. We've got a certification program. You can get certified in that as well. So it is very, very powerful. The idea, again, is that you're a good person. You want to get your point across, and you want to help the person see your point of view. So you just use these techniques to aid the other person in seeing your point of view a lot more quickly than they normally would.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you look at most marketing out there. There's something hypnotic even about the music that's played or the visual that's put out. The hamburger.
Oh, even just in movies.
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
soundtrack is just totally there to bring up emotions, and it's very effective.
Yeah, I mean...
And my point being here is that hypnosis isn't some really bad, nasty thing out there. It's used all the time in many different ways.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, people lose sight of the fact because movies are kind of artistic, but it's really a business. The movie business is a business. They've got to get a return on their investment, unless they're making, of course, The Lone Ranger, and they're losing a bunch of money. But usually they make a profit, and so they've got to find a way to kind of get you in there, get you excited about it, and so forth. And the trailer is a big part of that, and billboards and so forth. And they use hypnotic techniques. Companies use association, which is really not a hypnotic technique. It's more Pavlovian. Ivan Pavlov was the guy who could ring a bell and let dogs smell meat powder. Eventually, eventually just had to ring the bell and they would salivate. Exactly. So in an insurance commercial, you might see a kid playing with the dog in the grass, and they get you all in a state of happiness and feeling good about that, and they show you the name of the insurance company, designed to anchor you to that name, having good associations with that. So yeah, you're constantly, anytime your television is on and you're watching a movie, your brain is being bombarded at a very sophisticated level with a lot of messages designed to pull you in even more.
Yeah. Now, when we're talking about hypnotherapy, of course, we're talking about, we're adding an element of therapy to the hypnosis, so we're helping people in a way. Don't you have to be in some sort of trance state, though, in order for hypnotherapy to take?
Right, and hypnotherapy is a trance state. The hypno part is the trance, and the therapy is the words that are going to help change you. So we put someone in a state called alpha. Alpha is just a relaxed state of mind. You go into alpha every day of your life. Some people say, when I lived in Georgia, oh, I can't be hypnotized. My brain is too powerful for that. Well, that's not true. You go into alpha and out of alpha all day long, every day. Anytime you're daydreaming or spacing out, or when you take a shower, or when you just woke up, or you're just going to sleep, or maybe after you're doing some of those activities that you and Harry were talking about earlier, you are in a state of alpha. And so in a state of alpha, you are more suggestible. And that's all hypnosis is. It's a normal state of mind that we go in and out of every day, except for two differences. One, the hypnotherapist is causing you to go there with suggestive words. And two, they're putting positive thoughts in your mind while you're there.
Yeah. So when I think of hypnotic writing, like what Joe talks about, I don't think of it as me being in a trance state. Like, when I read someone's copy, like a sales letter, if it's a good story, yeah, I can say, wow, that's some damn good writing there. That's some damn good copywriting. Even reading a novel, or even reading some nonfiction books, you can acknowledge, yeah, that the writing is very hypnotic because it drew me in. It got me involved in the story. It got me emotionally involved in the story. But I don't really see that as the same as when I'm going through hypnotherapy and going literally into a trance state.
No, it's not the same. No, you're correct. It's not the same at all. It's completely different. It's more of a marketing term to say hypnotic writing. Hypnotic writing, it just implies that you will be, as you pointed out, you'll be kind of led down a series of actions in some sort of a hypnotic-ish way. But by textbook definition, it is not hypnosis.
Right. Okay. And yet, when we're watching a movie, sometimes that can be because we can be lulled into a trance state.
Oh yeah, they've got sight, sound. I mean, if you're just reading a sales letter, you may be in a state of hypnosis, but hypnotic writing is just meant to imply that's hypnot-ish. Maybe that's a better term for it, hypnotish, rather than hypnotic.
I love that.
Yeah. Hypnotish writing. It's from Europe.
That's quite a term. Yeah, get you to use that. I really think you should.
Sounds European, like Finnish or Swedish or hypnotish.
I thought you said Joe. I thought you said Joe's Finnish or Swedish, and I'm pretty sure Vitaly is Italian.
No, Vitaly, come on, yeah, that's Italian.
I am half Swedish, on the other hand.
There you go. I'm part Swedish. I'm like 1/9 Swedish. I'm a typical mutt.
Yeah.
Heinz 57, as I like to call it.
There you go.
Yep. Same thing, mutt.
Same thing, mutt.
So, Steve, you were talking that confidence is one of the biggest things that hold people back when it comes to, basically shining their light on the world, offering value to the universe. And so I was wondering, if confidence is number one, what are some of the other stumbling blocks that hold people back from fulfilling their own passion?
Well, really, if you think about it, it's what the lack of confidence is based on, which is the idea that people don't feel that they deserve. So a lack of feeling of deserving. They feel that they should be in a certain position, that they should have a certain amount of pay per year, they should have a certain type of spouse or loved one, or perhaps no spouse, no loved one, a certain size house, a certain amount of travel, a certain amount of fun, a certain amount of abundance in general. And so these thermostats, these limits, are placed in everyone's minds. I'm not exempt from it either. We're all human. We all have them to some degree. But the trick is to eradicate that, or to catch it when it's showing up in your life and realize, okay, that's an arbitrary boundary that I set up in my own mind. Another big culprit is a lack of motivation, which again comes from the same thing, comes from a lack of really wanting to be successful. And you may think, well, why would somebody really not want to be successful? And as Dr. Phil says, there's a payoff. There's a payoff for them not being successful. If they're not successful, they don't have all the attention. They're not expected to do it again. So it takes the pressure off. If they, were in love before and someone abused them, well, gaining a lot of weight or hiding from people or doing any number of things which would cause their potential loved ones to not be interested in them can keep them safe. So if someone feels that money is evil, well then gambling all their money away and losing all their money, losing their job, that can be a way to keep away from money because they think that money is the actual problem, when really what's going on is it's all inside their heads.
Okay, so I think if someone gains weight, they don't necessarily make that connection between I gained weight because my last husband abused me and I don't want anyone else noticing me. Like, that's not really a thought process that tends to go on. So how can we uncover what's really going on so that we know what to deal with in the first place?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say that not every woman who's overweight has that issue. That's something that...
Yeah, no, it was the example you used.
Right. Sometimes it is the case. I mean, there are clear examples, textbook examples of women who gain weight because they don't want to have attention from the opposite sex because they feel that it's going to lead to misery and pain. But in those cases,
I can understand that. I totally buy that. That's absolutely.
Yeah, it does happen. And same thing with, gamblers. People who gamble too much because they don't want to have money because, rich people are bad. Or because they feel they need to punish themselves in some way because their parents told them that they're not good people. There are all kinds of ways we can get to a situation which makes us consciously unhappy, but subconsciously very happy because our subconscious mind is comfortable there. So it's all about the psyche trying to protect itself, us trying to protect ourselves from harm. And so the way you can figure out if you're in one of the situations, I think, is by either going to a therapist, where you just talk it out and you have an aha moment. Oh, okay, I am kind of messing myself up because I don't feel worthy. Or just by doing some soul searching. I mean, you don't really have to get into hypnotherapy and so forth to discover that if you don't want to, but it would be good to go to some sort of a professional or talk to someone who's not going to judge you, a good friend. That can get a little tricky because then they're going to want to share their stuff with you and they're going to put their opinions in. I think the best way really is to go to some sort of paid professional who you believe in and let it unravel itself.
Okay, so once that awareness is in place, how do we then change it?
Well,
For example, the guy who's gambling all his money away because deep down he feels that rich people are evil, rich people are greedy, or whatever his parents told him, but he, now he's finally aware that, oh yeah, that's a tape that's playing in my head. So then what's the next step?
Well, there are any
That's a great question. And before we actually take that question, it is time to take that last break. See, you're just like Phil in that way, Heather. You don't pay attention to the clock. Which is
I got 8:44.
Well, see, it's time to take that next break. So,
Now it's 8:45.
aha.
Oh, it's official.
Anyway, well, we're going to hold that question, and Steve, you can let
The
that
garlic
marinate.
effect.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to let Steve have that marinate a little bit. We're going to come back Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Marvelous Mondays with Harry and Phil on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Muted. Another thing we want to tell you about, we do talk about this every week on the show, and that is the Water Project. And what we would like you to do, if you really want to help some people over in Africa who just don't have clean drinking water, as a matter, I think it's up to like 700 million people around the world don't. Our friend Alan Stubich and his company Midwest Pond Design is doing fundraising for that. So go to MidwestPondDesign.com, and you'll see on the homepage a link where you can click and help raise funds to bring clean drinking water around the world. So we are back, and we're getting ready to finish up our evening with Dr. Steve G. Jones. It's been fantastic. And I know he's allowed that question to marinate in his head. And are you ready, Steve?
I'm ready.
Okay.
What was the question again? I'm sorry, I forgot it.
I do it.
It marinated too much. It got all mushy.
Okay, I'll ask it again, but first I have to say that in that last ad that we just heard, Harry, you sounded like Count Dracula.
That was like a throwback from some. There's like a 1980s reference of some sort, but I don't recall what it was.
I think it was Billy.
Billy Crystal. You look marvelous.
Yes, it's Fernando. You look marvelous, darling. Yes.
Is that Billy Crystal doing that?
Listen, when you do that, you sound like Dracula.
Wah-ah-ah. Maybe like the Count on Sesame Street. One, two.
You'd rather do my voice like Dracula. See, Dracula's voice is much different than Fernando, so I can do the Dracula voice.
Well, now do Fernando. Let's see the difference.
Darlings, I'm telling you, darlings, it's better to look good than to feel good.
It is different. It is different.
You look marvelous. I can't even do it. Now you're throwing me off.
Harry's got it going on.
Darlings, you look marvelous, darling.
You look marvelous.
The only accent I can do, usually without fail, is French Canadian. Other than that,
Because you're French Canadian?
Because I am not French Canadian, but I am Canadian, so I hear the French Canadians, they talk all the time, and then they talk like this. And when you go to Montreal and you try to speak French, they look at you and they say, would you like me to speak English?
I think that's Pepe Le Pew, isn't it?
Yeah, no, he was Parisian.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. If you cannot speak it the French, do not speak it the French. That's all we get to say about it.
Oui, oui.
Okay. So Steve, the question was, once people are aware of the limiting beliefs that they have playing in their head that are holding them back, that are sabotaging them, what's the next step in order to overcome that and stop the self-sabotage and move forward?
Very good question. And the answer is there are a number of ways to do it. Dr. Phil would probably say there are a number of ways to skin a cat because he likes the country references. But there really are. I mean, you can go to mainstream therapy where you can just talk it out, talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, hypnotherapy, talking to a best friend. Unfortunately, some people turn to drugs and alcohol, which is not the way to do it. What you really need to do is to pick a path and walk it, but not every shoe fits every person. So of course I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm going to say hypnotherapy is great, and it is, but it's not for everyone. Some people really want to go into a therapist's office, but no matter what you do, no matter which way you choose to work on it, you're really going to have to get to those underlying tapes. Sometimes they're cassette tapes because they're so old that are playing in your head, saying you're not good enough, you're not worthy. Yeah, or 45s, or for some of us, they're carved on stone. It's we've got to clear those out, because without clearing those out, there's no room for new programming. So that's what hypnotherapy does. That's why I love it, because you put someone into a hypnotic state, you clear out the old, you put in the new, and you send them on their way. It's kind of like an oil change, quick and easy. But some people want to take a little longer with it and delve into their past and then talk it out, and I respect that. But either way, that's what you're doing. You're cleaning out the old and putting in the new.
Okay, so essentially, if we talk it out, talk therapy, we are dealing on the conscious level. we're dealing with our conscious thoughts, and we can uncover the beliefs, but we're really talking on it on a conscious level. But with hypnotherapy, we do it on a subconscious level.
Right, and you look at a person. I look at them as like an iceberg. You know, the tip of the iceberg that you see, the part above the water, is the conscious mind. But the majority of the person is the part below the water, the subconscious mind. And when you think about it, that's what's determining the direction the iceberg goes, because that's affected by the current of the water. So you've got to deal with the subconscious mind if you really want to make a change. So with talk therapy, it happens also. It gets to the subconscious mind, but it's because people go home and think about it, they dwell on it, they come back, they talk some more, they go home, they kind of ruminate on it, let it marinate, come back. And so it is a subconscious process, but because of the way it's done, it takes a lot longer. Hypnotherapy just kind of gets the car up on the rack and changes the oil. You know, you put someone into a hypnotic state, and you tell them that they're going to erase those old patterns. I usually have them write those words they've been called or call themselves, you know, the negative words. I have them write them on the sand, then erase them, you know, swipe their feet over them, then chisel in rock the words that they want to associate with themselves: powerful, beautiful, amazing, awesome, and so forth. So it's quick and easy, and I like it for that.
Okay, so what about for people who can't visualize? They don't see the pictures when you ask them to do that.
Well, not everyone is visual. Some people are more auditory. They hear things, or kinesthetic. They feel things or relate to touching things. And so you can work with that. You can paint a picture in their mind of something they can hear, or something they can feel or touch, or how they can emotionally feel about it. So there are all kinds of ways to do it if they're not visually oriented, as we say.
Right, okay. Like Harry, right? You're not visually oriented?
He might.
I was in the chat room.
No, you were multitasking.
He's bathroom oriented.
I was multitasking. Yeah. No, I am. I'm actually. It's funny. I'm almost 50-50 visual kinesthetic. So.
Okay, but you said you can't visualize.
Yeah, visualization, that is one thing that's always been kind of a challenge for me. Actually seeing it. What I end up doing is I feel it more than anything else, which is the kinesthetic side of things. So if I close my eyes, I'm not necessarily seeing things in my mind's eye, but I can feel what it is that I want to do. So I feel the exhilaration of winning the race, or I feel the joy of being with somebody that I want to be with. So for me, it's more the kinesthetic.
Yeah,
nice.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so Steve, earlier Harry asked you about your passion, and you told us what your passion was. A lot of people struggle. They don't know what their passion is, and they know that they must have some purpose in life, but they really haven't been able to uncover it. So how would you suggest that people uncover their passion, their purpose, their mission in life?
Well, I do have a recording for that called Discover Your Passion.
Of course you do.
Because I have a recording for everything. But if you want to do it on your own, really it's just a matter of thinking about what you really enjoy. I mean, people get caught up in what their parents want them to be and what they think is going to make the most money. And then they hit middle age and they realize, well, money didn't really do it. So it's just a matter of soul searching and being really honest and having the integrity to stand up to the world and say, this is what I'm going to do. My parents did not want me to study psychology when I started school at the University of Florida. My dad wanted me to major in business and minor in computers, because in 1985, when I started college, computers was a minor. We didn't have it specified like we do today because it was still relatively new. I said the heck with that. I said my passion is psychology. I had a great psychology class when I was in high school. I was getting into hypnotherapy, as I shared with you guys when I was in high school. That's what I wanted to do. So the nearest thing I could find to all of that was to study psychology. My parents said, you'll never make any money at it. Well, 2 years ago when I was in the Millionaire Matchmaker as a millionaire, I think I didn't do it to show them, but my dad's passed away, unfortunately, and my stepmom's still around. But it showed to me, that was kind of the icing on the cake. That was a culmination. Not that money really means anything to me at all, but it is a measure of how society views you, of your self-worth in terms of the value that you've given to society. So my point is, go for it. I mean, it's going to work out. And it's also not going to work out if you don't follow your passion. You're going to wind up in a place where you really don't want to be. So I've always followed my passion, and it's really always paid off.
Okay, so when you started following your passion, in spite of what everybody said you should or shouldn't do, how long did it actually take you to start making money?
That took a long, long time. You don't, yeah, I didn't really start making any serious money until probably about 2007, really. So it took 22 years, yeah, before I really, I mean, I was paying the bills the whole time, but I wasn't making, serious money until 2007. That's why I wrote the book, Holistic Millionaire, to help people, bypass a little bit of that, shortcut a little bit of that time. But yeah, it took me a long, long time.
Okay, so how do you explain if it took 22 years for you to start making, basically any money? How did it happen that in, a 5-year period, you went from zero to millionaire?
Well, I put that in the book. We started doing something called, we started doing high volume discounts where we took all of my products and put them on discount. That made a lot of money all at once. That was a revelation for me in my office. We started doing that. I cover that, I think, in the chapter on marketing. We started doing affiliate marketing, reaching out to people. You email for me, I'll email for you. So now, instead of just a reach of 500,000 people on our email list, we have several million people because we're all helping each other in a community. So it was discovering those sorts of things related to internet marketing that really made the difference for me.
Okay, but you can put your products on discount all day, and if you don't have traffic, if you don't have prospects, they're still not going to sell. So how did you get all those customers who were there chomping at the bit, ready to get those products when they went on discount?
Well, you have to. What people don't realize is you've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the few years of really hard work and create quality products. I put in 2 years of hard work and created 9,000 products. People just think they're going to.
That's overkill.
Yeah.
You don't have to do 9,000 people.
Well, a lot of people think.
You have to do 8,995.
And that'll be good enough. Yeah. 0.999. So yeah, people think they're going to do a shortcut, not create quality products or not create a lot of quality products and just maybe write a book and it's going to go gangbusters. And that's usually not the case. You've got to do the work. You've got to put in your time. You've got to know your subject matter. I studied psychology. I studied hypnotherapy. I taught it for many years. So you've got to be a subject matter expert in SME, and you've got to create quality, very high quality products. When you do all of that, you just generate a buzz naturally when you start putting all this stuff on the internet. You don't have to go after marketing. People think, I have to do this, I have to learn this trick, that trick. No, you really don't. You just have to create something of quality and create a lot of it.
Create a lot of quality, and you'll get a lot of value in return.
Exactly. The word gets out. I mean, the word gets out either way, whether it's high quality or low quality. So just create a bunch of stuff and make it super high quality and always have the idea in mind that you're going to help people. Now, in my book, I go into much more detail about product creation, how to create ebooks and recordings and videos and how to market them. But in a nutshell, those are the things people overlook. You've got to create a lot of stuff that helps people, and you've got to really, before that, you've got to really know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it really comes down to providing value.
Exactly. There you go.
Providing value to people, and you're creating something that's going to help them in their life, and you go in with that mindset of wanting to be of service and of helping, and putting it all together like you're talking about. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to SteveGJones.com and you can literally download this book that we're talking about, The Holistic Millionaire, for free. Okay, it doesn't cost you anything. Steve put this thing together, and it's a great resource. I'm telling you, I've been in business for a long, long time, and it's a really great resource that he's put together that he's giving to you for free. So I highly recommend you go download that book.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when we're talking about creating value, and we're talking about helping people, and we're talking about following your passion, typically, if someone's passionate about psychology or they're passionate about hypnotherapy, they go into practice working with people, one-on-one. And that is also creating value, and that is also helping people. But it sounds like the difference for you was leveraging products that many people could buy at once instead of spending your time with one person.
Oh, yeah.
Where did that decision come about?
Well, I had, I had an office for a long time. I've been in practice as a hypnotherapist for a very long time. I had an office in Beverly Hills, Roxbury Medical Building, 90210. It was me and a bunch of plastic surgeons. A lot of celebrities were coming to me as clients. And I thought that was great, but I was limited. The most I could make was, I could probably do about $80,000 a year with that. Which is pretty good, but then you start to take out your bills and so forth, and then you figure that you're there all the time, Monday through Friday, and you eventually realize that you can never go beyond that level unless you raise your rates. I mean, if you're already maxed out, working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and you're charging a certain rate, mathematically, you will not be able to go beyond a certain amount per year. Those are just the facts, unless you raise your rates or create somehow more time in the day, which is not going to happen. So that dawned on me. But what really dawned on me, since I'm not very money-oriented, believe it or not, is that I didn't want to be tied to that. I didn't want to be tied to an inflexible thing where I had to go to an office every day. So I closed the office, I moved across the country, and at that time, MP3s were becoming popular. It was around 2004. People were still scared of them because they thought, well, now they can steal my stuff, and it's going to happen anyway. People steal your stuff no matter what, so you might as well sell them. So I put my products online, my hypnosis recordings online, and I realized I could reach a lot more people, thousands of people. The income was much better because I wasn't limited to what I could make per hour. I wasn't trading my time for money anymore. I was making a recording that could sell itself while I was sleeping. And then, as I mentioned, this affiliate marketing concept, we got into that. So that's what made the difference for me.
Okay. Now, I have known a lot of alternative therapists. I've gone to a lot of chiropractors in my time. I've gone to hypnotherapists. I've gone to Reiki masters, massage therapists. And inevitably, when I mention to them, hey, why don't you put something on the internet? Why don't you create a product? They look at me like I'm crazy. So I stopped talking about it. But obviously, that is, they're leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
Before you answer that, Steve, maybe you can help Heather out, because everybody's looking at it like she's crazy. So you have an audio for that?
I thought you were going to say, "Oh, we're overtime. Time to take another break."
We are, and I know you're just like Phil. You're not paying attention to the clock. I'm just letting you go, Heather.
Well,
Heather's
there's no show coming on after this that we have to stop for. So, to me, it's about the content. You know what? To me, it's about the quality. It's about the passion. It's about getting the content for the people that are listening, and that's all it's about.
Good answer, Heather. Good answer. You have 24 more minutes.
Okay. So basically, I'm saying the exact same thing Steve is saying, except for me, the value is in creating content like this.
Right.
So, anyhow, when I talk to alternative therapists, natural health practitioners about why don't they put something on the internet, why don't they put together a product, they don't. To them, it's a huge mental jump. So they have this value to offer. They're helping people, but they don't have that belief that, first of all, not even that they can't do it, but that it's even an option. It's totally foreign to them. So what do you say to help people get past those mental barriers and start helping more people?
Well, of course, I say read the free book, but in the free book, you're going to find that anyone can create a product and put it online. A Reiki master can create a how to be a Reiki master product, and there's a top-selling one online right now making millions of dollars. It's an online product that someone probably spent, 3 days making, and they're making millions of dollars a year from it. As opposed to a Reiki master who, I don't know what they make per year, but I would assume that it's not $1 million.
A lot less.
Yeah. So, just And it's not just about the money, it's about the freedom. You create an information product one time, you sell it forever. You have freedom then to do what you want. You don't have to tie yourself down to a patient load if you don't want to. You can, but you don't have to. You can raise your rates on your patients, which is what I did. It serves the purpose of keeping my patient load way down, and also it gets me properly compensated for my time, since now my time is a lot more valuable, because my time could be spent in the studio making a recording that's going to help thousands of people, rather than spent one-on-one with somebody where I'm just able to help that one person.
Well, you know what else you can do too, Steve?
What's that?
You can go to the park. You can swing on the swings. You can make macaroni necklaces.
I've heard that. I have a friend named Harry who does that. I'm going to have to start hanging out with that guy at the park.
There you go. We better bring Heather along, though, because Heather's concerned about middle-aged men hanging out.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a little too creepy.
Yeah, we'll need Heather there. So she'll be our what do they call it, chaperone. Like when people get taken out of a home, when people get taken out of a home for the day, like an old folks' home.
Yeah.
Heather will.
Get signed out of the mental institution.
There you go. Heather will watch over us. She'll sign the release for.
Maybe she'd rent her son to us, so it looks like we have somebody playing.
No, that's even creepier.
That's just wrong. That's just that's just wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You guys.
Just to put that in context for everyone listening, Harry, can you explain what is the value in playing at the park and making macaroni necklaces?
And finger painting? The value in that actually is to tap into your inner child and to increase your creativity. So by doing activities that children would normally do, you get to take yourself back to that, that place and time, and it just really opens up creativity. And it's also another good way of relaxing and just having fun. So, the more that you can do things like that, that is the basis and reasoning behind it. And I was actually, just so listeners know, I don't know if I mentioned this before, I think I did maybe one of the other shows, but I was privileged to be able to shoot a series of videos with Steve and with Heather, and one of the topics was how to increase your creativity, and we went over different things on that and how to tap that inner child. So thank you for that, Heather.
Absolutely.
How to tap into that inner child.
Yes, that too.
Okay. Because you just had a Freudian slip there, so I just wanted to make sure.
Well, it's good thing I have a hypnotherapist here online for my Freudian slips. Do you have an audio from that too?
We'll get you guys straightened out. After this program, I'm gonna create a lot more audios. I got a lot of new ideas. We got a lot of potential for fixing up here.
Yeah, you see, you thought you were in semi-retirement, only doing like one every 2 weeks.
There's work to be done. There's work to be done. I can tell.
There's people to save. There's using your powers for good. You don't have the right. Just like Spider-Man and Batman and Superman, you don't have the right to take a break. You need to help people.
Absolutely. On that note, I've got a group of people waiting on me because I'm at a seminar, and they're waiting to talk to me. So I'm going to have to wrap it up.
All right. Yeah. Very good. So, in fact, we have one last question, right, Heather?
Yes, we do. Steve, if you never ever come on this show again, what's the one thing you want to leave listeners with?
Oh my goodness! Wow, you guys ask really good questions. Well, I'm taken back to the song by the musical group America. They have a song that goes like this: "Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have," and it's a reference to the Wizard of Oz. And he really never did give anything to the Tin Man or the Scarecrow or anyone else that they didn't have. He gave them representations of things that they already had. And so that's sort of like hypnotherapy. It's something that you already have, the ability to be awesome. You already have that ability. But sometimes you need a gentle reminder of the power, the beauty, the passion, the drive, and everything that you already have. When you feel you need that gentle kick in the pants, that reminder of your greatness, that's where things like hypnotherapy come into play.
I always knew you were like the Wizard of Oz. I think I made a reference to that one time.
You did. I like that.
Yeah. Well, you can definitely tell, Steve, that you are one of the good guys out there when it comes into this side of things, the hypnotherapy and everything that's going on. You can hear it in your voice. You can tell you have a passion for what you do. I mean, 9,000 products, really. If you're not passionate about it, you would not even done 20. And it really was an honor and privilege to have you on the show. And I'm quite certain this isn't the only time we'll have you on. If you would be so kind as to come back sometime and be a guest on the show.
Anytime. You guys are awesome. This is the most fun I've ever had in an interview, honestly. Normally they're kind of, uptight and so forth. You guys we're just having a ball here, so anytime.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But next time it's going to be Phil. It might not be so much fun.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to think about it. Can we have Heather in just for that day? I'm sure Phil's a fine guy, but...
Yeah, we might have to do Marvelous Mondays with Harry, Phil, and Heather.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Harry, Heather, and Phil.
Oh, here we go. She's got to put herself where she wants it.
She's the monkey in the middle.
All right.
I like it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Steve. You have shared awesome information as always, and I know listeners got a lot out of it. So, and again, Harry, tell them where to download the book because that's a great book.
They can go to www.stevegjones.com and get a free copy of the book. And, hey, go in there and get at least 8,125 of his 9,000 products.
Absolutely.
So, you know what? Get on his email list and wait for these discount offers. They're awesome. But you get them for $1.
There you go.
Perfect. So, all right. Well, Steve, go enjoy your friends at the seminar. Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. We appreciate that.
Thank you both.
Heather and I are going to hang out for a few more minutes, so take care of yourself.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, thank
Take care. Bye-bye.